So now I'll move on to the second part of the lecture. Are you bored? Okay. Now, this is the title of the article. Have you seen the article? By Beatriz Plaza. It was Value Museums as Economic Engines, and there are two concepts here: willingness to pay or discounting of cash flows. Okay? Okay. So, willingness to pay is connected with non-market driven economic evaluation. Okay? I'll explain it now. The willingness to pay is connected with non-market driven economic impact. For instance, social impact. Social impact is non-market driven impact. Do you agree with this? Yes. Okay. And then we have the discounting of cash flows, which is the evaluation of market driven impacts. Have two different concepts. So let's go to the economic valuation of arts, that is the non-market benefits of arts. Okay? Oh, don't worry about this. So now we have, if you don't mind, I will explain it here. Okay? Have you ever seen a demand curve? Who hasn't seen a demand curve in his whole life? This is the quantity, okay? Q is the quantity. For instance, let's assume a theater. Or let's assume, for instance, here you have concerts, don't you? So you have here the number of concerts, okay? Number of concerts in Musikitalo, okay? And then you have here the price for every session of concerts, okay? Okay, so the question is, if you have a big number of concerts, if people demand a big number of concerts, excuse me for this is price, yeah, okay. If you have a lot of concerts available, will price be low or high? High or low? If you have a lot of concerts available, if you have many concerts, the more concerts you have, the cheaper or the more expensive are the concerts.
What do you mean, the prices to the public?
Yes, the prices to the public.
But lower to some point, but not as
yes, the more availability you have, the cheaper they are. Is it correct? Okay, the more available concerts are, the cheaper they are. Okay, so we have a lot of concerts here with a low price. Okay, if you don't have a lot of concerts available, what will happen with the price? It will be high price, only available for those who have very high income. Okay, so at the end you have, and if you have a middle amount of concerts, then you have a middle price. So this is the demand curve. Okay, is this clear? Okay, so this is the demand curve. Okay, so let's assume we have two effects here. Let's assume that we have this many number of concerts, which is Q0, okay? And for this amount of concerts, we have P0 price, okay? What is P0 times Q0? What does the price times the quantity of concerts stand for? What is this? Come on.
money.
This is money. Money. This is money. This is the cashier's window, okay? This is the cashier, okay? This is the cashier. So this is the money. This is the money. So all this area is the money, okay? So it is the market-driven impact. Can you see this? It is the market-driven impact because it is money, okay? Market-driven impact, the cashier window, okay? Yesterday, somebody here mentioned, and what happens when artists and people appreciate different values, which is not economic ones, like art itself. Okay, so how can you evaluate this? You can evaluate it through the willingness to pay. Willingness to pay. So how would we calculate the willingness to pay? It's very easy. You think that it's not easy, but it's very easy. You perform a questionnaire, okay? You perform a questionnaire, okay? And you say, well, we are going to set up a new museum we are going to perform new concerts, for instance, in the Musiikitalon. And then you ask to the inhabitants of Helsinki, for 50 concerts, how much would be you willing to pay? For 50 concerts in the new concerts in Musiikitalon, how much would the inhabitants would be willing to pay? They would be willing to pay this much. For 75 concerts, how much would they willing to pay? They would be willing to pay this much, okay? And for 5 concerts, they would be willing to pay this much. So the question is, which is the economic value of these new concerts?
But the willingness to pay doesn't mean that they will pay.
It doesn't mean, but we are estimating the value they would be aiming to pay. The problem is that, as you say, they haven't paid, okay? That's a very good question. Here, this is market driven, isn't it? Okay? This is market driven. Can you see this? Okay. But you have one of the effects, which are all the social, art, and culture-driven effects, which is all this, okay? So the question is, you have here the cashier, and this is the grant, okay, by the public sector. So how do you measure the grant by the public sector? Any idea? Okay. Look, you have, these are the interviews, okay? In the interviews you have asked for the population, how much would you be willing to pay for 5, 10, 15, 25? So at the end you have all this information. So the question is, which is the value for you for all the new concerts? Which is the value? Any idea? It's very easy. You calculate this area and you have the value in euros. You just perform an interview, you know Q, the amount of concerts, you know the prices, and you can calculate. Okay? So the next question is, once you have the value of this area, which is the amount of public money you need to support these concerts?
Everything that is above the market.
Yes, everything which is above the market-driven impact. The market-driven impact was this. Do you remember? Mm-hmm. So this would be the market-driven impact, okay? And which would be the amount of grant? The amount of grant would be this up here. Can you see this? Mm-hmm. So this would be the cashier. That is cash inflows. This is cash inflows. Okay? You buy tickets, and this is real cash that gets into the cash inflow box. Okay? And then you have, this is economic value driven by social impacts, but this is a public grant.
So can you call them like own income or like earned income and then like support or something?
This is, in economics, this is called consumer surplus. Consumer surplus. Consumer surplus means that it is the well-being generated by no market goods. Art is a no market good, in a sense. So you have a well-being, you have a market-driven well-being, and you have a non-market-driven well-being. And you get to know how much money gets through the cashier window, and how much money gets through the public sector, because you already calculated the well-being generated by this through interviews. It's not a difficult stuff.
But the
For
private,
economists, it's very easy.
but the private investment, like if there's a company investing, would that be also the surplus?
No,
No?
no. A private company is just the cashier.
Okay.
Yeah. Except for positive externalities. If a private investment has positive externalities, this means that it is generating additional effects, social effects, not the simple business, but some social effects like increasing the level of culture in the city. So if there are positive externalities, then you have the consumer surplus. So the social impacts are measured by the consumer surplus. It's very easy to measure it. In the article you see that there's some debate about willingness to pay and discounting of cash flows. We use the discounting of cash flows for the estimation of this part of the chart. Do you have any question in connection with this? No question? Okay, so move on. So now we analyze the market-driven benefits. The market-driven ones are this one, the cashier. The cashier means that what we pay, how many people visit the concert, so it is as easy as this. Okay, so this is the discounting of cash flows for Bilbao. A lot of numbers. There's not a difficult thing either. The only thing you have to do is you estimate the number of visitors, forecast more or less, which is the impact, as Gustavo mentioned before, in terms of cash inflows, the initial amount of investment of the museum, all the investment, and you analyze whether it has been recovered or not. Okay? It is as easy as this. And normally, not normally, but always, consultants overestimate the impact, always. So if a consultant or public report gives you a number, you have to deflate it for 40% more or less to have a real number of the impact of this project. Because as Gustavo mentioned, normally the consultant, they want to please the client, and in order to please the client, what do they say? Everything is going to go well. And they overestimate the impact. So any multiplier over 2 would be not a good study, really. Okay? Okay. So in this case, the public authorities said that it would have been recovered by 2005, the Guggenheim Bilbao Museum by 2005, and whereas in reality, these are very conservative as a 6% discount rate, which I'm not going to analyze now. It has been recovered, but not as fast as the public authorities in the Basque Country said that it would have been recovered, okay? So, is this good news or bad news for the Guggenheim Bilbao? Can you think about this in 1 minute? What part of this chart is this? The black one or the red one? Is it the black part of this, or is it the red part of it? It is the red part. We are calculating how much money is generated by the Guggenheim Museum in terms of cash inflows. So what you're analyzing is how much money was spent and whether the amount of money spent have been recovered through the impact in terms of cash inflows. So cash inflows have to be higher than cash outflows in order to recover the investment, okay? And in this case, they did recover the investment. Is it good news or bad news? It is good news if the main aim of that museum is the economic aim. Because in order to become a real economic engine, the discounting of cash flows has to be positive. If the discounting of cash flows is not positive, what happens? That you are not recovering your investment, so you are losing money. Okay? So the question is, in which case you would accept a negative discounting of cash flows? Which case?
If the cultural value of the project is considered one.
Perfect, Carmen, perfect. If the cultural value of the project is more important than the economic value of the project. So although the discounting of cash flows is negative, if the cultural value of the project is higher than the economic value of the project, you could have negative discounting of cash flows, but you are waiting for the public funds because you have a social well-being generated by this cultural investment. So you expect public grants to come into the project. Okay? So at the end, it is important to get to know which portion of the value generated is due to market-driven effects and which part of this impact is driven by no-market effects. Okay? My students, I teach urban economics at the University of the Basque Country, and this is always exam question. They have to analyze this table. Okay? This is the multiplier, as Gustavo mentioned before. Okay? Normally, every 1,000 visitors generate one new job. One new job per 1,000 visitors. So every 1 million visitors, you have around 1,000 new jobs in the city. And which is the logic of it? The logic is, if you have new cultural tourism, you have to see the impact on other sectors. So you analyze the impact on hotels, accommodation, traveling, tourism driven sectors and culture sectors. And at the end, you analyze which is the overall impact of that new cultural tourism through the multiplier. This is calculated through tourism satellite accounts, which is the same as input-output analysis, which is an impact analysis at the end. Okay? Thank you very much.